Good evening, friends, and welcome to day 154 of a poem a day for 2026. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Um, Apparently, when I say that time is meaningless, I really mean it. Of course, it's Wednesday and not Tuesday. I haven't been in the office today. But yeah, it's coming up to 6:15. I've not long finished work. It's very much been another day where the day has happened to me, as opposed to me being an active participant. Yeah, I didn't manage to get to bed earlier yesterday, but I did have. I sat and had dinner at a reasonable hour, which was quite novel. And yeah, it just there's they've added a new series, not up to date, but new seasons of Law and Order SVU onto Netflix. So I've started watching those. It's always been one of those shows that I very much enjoy watching, but have never been able to watch in any kind of order. It's always just been a case of when it's on. And probably a year or more ago, 5 seasons got put onto Netflix. I think it was like season 6 through to 11 or something. And I watched those far quicker than you would think. And then I was like, oh. And I got a notification on Netflix the other day to say that they have added the following 5 seasons. Or they've replaced it with the following 5 seasons. So I started on season 12 Monday evening when I got back from Sunday evening. Sorry, when I got back from Bristol. But you're not here to listen to me talk about what I'm watching on Netflix or other streaming services are available. We're here to talk poetry. So let's see what we have today. 3rd of June, we have another excerpt from Childe Harold's Pilgrimage by George Gordon, Lord Byron. And our blurb reads as follows. Lord Byron was, in many senses, the first modern celebrity. He was controversial and outrageous, spending fortunes on his lavish lifestyle and attracting a large number of female admirers. Though he remained always a man of leisure, he was an extremely accomplished swimmer and boxer, not to mention poet, and he eventually died fighting for the Greek army. The long episodic poem Childe Harold's Pilgrimage was a bestseller in its day, and it tells fictionalized versions of many of Byron's own travels. So, this is an excerpt from Childe Harold's Pilgrimage by George Gordon, Lord Byron. There is a pleasure in the pathless woods. There is a rapture on the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes, by the deep sea, and music in its roar. I love not man the less, but nature more. From these our interviews, in which I steal from all I may be, or have been before, to mingle with the universe and feel what I can ne'er express, yet cannot or conceal. Roll on, thou deep and dark blue ocean, roll. 10,000 fleets sweep over thee in vain. Man marks the earth with ruin. His control stops with the shore. Upon the watery plain, the wrecks are all thy deed, nor doth remain A shadow of man's ravage, save his own, when for a moment, like a drop of rain, he sinks into thy depths with a bubbling groan, without a grave, unknelled, uncoffined, unknown. His steps are not upon thy paths, thy fields are not spoiled for him. Thou dost arise and shake him from thee. The vile strength he wields for earth's destruction thou dost all despise, spurning him from thy bosom to the skies, and sent'st him shivering in thy playful spray, and howling to his gods where haply lies his petty hope in some near port or bay, and dashest him against earth, there let him lay. Wow. I must confess, I don't think, to the best of my memory, which is shady at best, that I have read much Byron, if any. The whole being a bit of a playboy was a kind of an intellectual turn off for me, so to speak. But I've got to hand it to him. Those are some pretty words. But yeah, no, that was very pleasant. That was rousing, I think would be an accurate description. And really just kind of almost sort of bowing down to the might of the ocean. I think even now, scientifically speaking, and in general, we know less about the ocean than we do about space, which is incredible, amazing, and terrifying. There's something like 85% of the ocean is undiscovered, which is mind-blowing. Just how many species of ocean-dwelling creatures don't we know about? Truly, the power of the ocean. Just the ability to give in such power. If you think about people harnessing the power of sort of the kinetic power of water, and converting that into electricity and such, and just the devastating might in terms of things like tsunamis, floods, and just even just your standard current. If somebody maybe floats a little bit too far out and can be pulled under, it's magnificent and devastating. Things to aspire to be. Thank you, friends, for being here, for listening to my rambles. I hope that my exhausted ADHD mutterings are at least some some part enjoyable alongside the poetry. I think I have mentioned before that I only go into the office 2 days a week, and I most of the time make it to roller derby training on a Thursday evening. But unless I've got plans for a game at the weekend or D&D, I often don't see anyone outside of that because I live alone. It's just me and the cats. So coming on here every day to read you poetry and prose and such often feels like I'm having a chat with friends, even though it's just me speaking into my little camera. So yeah, kind of apologies for the rambles, but also it's possibly helping to keep me sane. It's saner than I could be. Well, I think I'll leave it there. I hope you've had a good day. And we've made it halfway through the week, so that's something. Here's hoping that when we get down to it, we all have a very good